Well, good morning, and welcome to Mirador Television, broadcasting from the Black Horse Inn in Lewis. You can see that wonderfully stocked bar behind me. Oh, drink everywhere, but not a drop to touch. Here. Not until noon, anyway, when the doors swing open and the general public are welcomed in by our Chief of Staff, Declan Roll. A great chief of staff, but also a very fine publican. He's a good electrician too, and he understands electronics. Oh, a man of many talents. He's down in the office at the moment, and I am charged with keeping an eye open for deliveries, or to keep the pub properly stocked. Make sure that everything is here that we need. Anyway, welcome to the Black Horse Inn, and the quiz is on the 9th, and Sunday the 9th at 8 o'clock, £2, but a great evening's entertainment. So do make sure that you come along to that. And it's on a Sunday, and at lunchtime on a Sunday, you got a great roast. So it's a great day, the 9th. Every day is a great day at this pub, and we enjoy broadcasting from here, and we're grateful to Dec for letting us do it. We need a home. We've got a home. It's a good home. We're well looked after, and we try hard to bring you as much fun and games as we possibly can. Anyway, let's take a look at the weather first of all, before we get on to the horrifics of the news. It's 17 degrees today. That's okay, I suppose, but it has been 20, and it's going to go up to 18 on the weekend, 19 on Sunday, and 19 all next week, up until the next weekend. Some cloud around, but not bad weather at all. Not bad weather at all. Today, there's going to be a moderate breeze, sunny intervals, and preparing for tomorrow when we're going to have thunderstorms. So put your lightning-proof hats on tomorrow. So that's the weather in a nutshell. And we'll now take a look at the news front pages. The news front pages, which are reflective of what's going on in our society, and it's all pretty much of a muchness at the moment. Yes, it is. Let's newspaper headlines: the Prime Minister who axes rip-off degrees, and pensions tax battle. The Metro: tax battle rages over pensions. Locking horns is the headline, is the front page headline. Many of Wednesday's front pages are dominated by the latest development in the election campaign. The Metro says the Conservative Party and Labour are locking horns over tax. The paper reports that Prime Minister Rishi Sunak claimed Labour's tax plans would cost every family £2,000 a year. Meanwhile, Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves branded the Prime Minister's policy a desperate gimmick. They're both lightweights. They're all lightweights. We've been governed by ever since, is no wiser words were said than by our own Harry Atherton, who reports from Normandy now. And Harry said, you don't have to like a leader, but you've got to make sure that he can lead. And we've been leaderless for quite some time. The point really is that Boris whether you liked him or whether you didn't, was a leader. Whether he was leading us in the right direction or not is questionable. But he was a leader, and we knew where we stood and where we were going. We haven't since. Both leaders of the parties, the main parties, are lightweights. And that is becoming obvious as this election campaign gets cracking. Not much really depth in what they're saying. It's like children yelling at one another. The Daily Mail: the Tory vow to ban rip-off university degrees by changing the law. Up to 1 in 8 students could see Mickey Mouse courses axed in a radical plan to fund 100,000 new apprenticeships. Well, I approve of that in principle. The thing is, how will they apply it? The Daily Mail leads with Rishi Sunak's pledge to scrap degrees, and there are plenty of those, believe me, in plans to fund 100,000 new apprenticeships. But you can guarantee that the education sector will fight that tooth and claw. They are onto a really good thing with degrees. They get money for them. They get money from overseas. I worked at one of these Mickey Mouse universities. I actually am happy to say that the students that I had stay in touch with me, and they're all doing very well, thank you. My degree wasn't a Mickey Mouse one at all. I made sure that they understood exactly what it was that they were being taught. But still, there we are. I'm a rarity. Is no isms. The Mail leads with Rishi Sunak's pledge to scrap rip-off degrees and plans to fund 100,000 new apprenticeships. A new law will grant the Office for Students, OFS, the higher education regulator, powers to close underperforming courses, the paper reports. But will they? Will they? It's a quango. Daily Express: Rishi's plan to boost young people's skills with 100,000 new apprenticeships. Do they want them? Or have we got a generation that really could care less about skills? Prime Minister: axe to fall on university rip-off degrees. Oh. The worst performing courses will be assessed on government data, such as dropout rates and job progression, according to the Daily Express. The paper says the move is among plans to spend 889 million. How the hell do they figure like that? Why not say almost 900 million on boosting young people's skills? Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. The Times: Sunak plans for university cuts to boost apprentices. The Times says the OFS has already started to crack down on courses it views to be low quality. But this legislation will give it greater power. The paper adds that Mr. Sunak's announcement accuses institutions of selling students a false dream. Is that true? I think there is an element of truth in that. Get a degree and the world opens up to you. Well, get a degree and the world may open up to you to be able to make your way. It does not guarantee anything. And in fact, I've had several students who have been led to believe that their degree puts them to the top of the class, when in fact they couldn't even make the coffee. Are they rare? Are they an exception? Well, The Mirror. Tory nonsense exposed, it says. Cops drop Rayner probe. Home sale claims are binned in yet another blow for Sunak. A probe into Angela Rayner's home sale has been dropped, the Mirror reports, in what the paper says is a fresh blow to Mr. Sunak's election campaign. Elsewhere on the front page is an image of Love Island host Maya Jama, who talks to the paper about meeting King Charles and her relationship with rapper Stormzy. Everything I wanted to know. Oh, yes. The Daily Telegraph. Sunak, I'm talking to Johnson about the election. Oh ho. In an exclusive interview with the Telegraph, Mr. Sunak said he recently spoke to Boris Johnson about the risk that Sir Keir Starmer poses to the country's security. He declined to say whether the former PM would campaign for him. Well, I think that probably Boris is holding fire, much the same as Farage, Nigel Farage, who is popping up all over the place. The I, triple lock plus to save retirees 28p a week on state. The PM's triple lock plus protection plan would save retirees relying on the state pension as their sole income £14.60 a year. Calculations for the I show. The paper says pensioners who do not receive full state pension would save less. Well, I must confess, I don't intend to get into the nitty-gritty of finding out whether that's true or not. Tracy Amin, The Guardian. Cancer changed everything for me, she says. Israeli spy chief threatened ICC official over war crimes inquiry. Yeah, it's amazing how the Guardian always goes away from anything that it thinks doesn't fit its philosophy. Away from the election campaign, the Guardian says that the former head of Israel's Foreign Intelligence Agency allegedly tried to persuade a chief prosecutor to halt a war crimes investigation. Israel's Prime Minister's office replied to the Guardian's request for comment, saying there were many false and unfounded allegations meant to hurt the state of Israel. Am I hearing a knock on the door? Well, maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. The Financial Times. Ofwat sketches out recovery regime to avoid nationalizing water groups. Water regulator Ofwat is drawing up recovery regime plans for financially stressed water companies, including Thames Water, in a bid to avoid nationalization, according to the Financial Times. The Daily Star. Kim Jong-un's favorite gardener doubles down on his war on gastropods. Imperialist Chich. I lob all my slugs into next door's garden. Finally, presenter Alan Titchmarsh has revealed that he throws slugs into his neighbor's garden, the Star says. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Right, not a mention of Farage there, but we should look at he's very busy in the background of things. Right. Okay. Nigel Farage rules out standing for Reform UK in general election. 5 days ago, Mr. Farage previously led the UK Independence Party from 2006 to 2009 and 2010 to 2016, and was a member of the European Parliament, MEP, for South East England from 1999 until we came at Brexit, I guess. Farage will help Britain by campaigning for Trump, says Reform leader. Well. I mean, the situation across the pond is as bad as here. Two leaders that shouldn't be leading. Yeah. This is Farage. We are back. We are back. It's Keith playing around again. But Farage is said he will not run for the Reform Party this time around, but who knows in 5 years' time. And it looks really as if the Reform Party may well take over from the Tories. The Tories having really buggered themselves up so badly that they are in a situation where I can't see them recovering, to be quite honest with you. And certainly I don't see Starmer's Labour coming on with any great verve. Perhaps we should give them a chance, but they are not leaders. They are not charismatic, and that's really what we need. Well, there we are. That's that's the news headlines. I think perhaps what we need to do is to look a little deeper into those front pages, which we will do. I can hear little feet tiptoeing around behind me, and it is the pub is starting to come to life. Lovely, thank you. Chief of Staff looks after me wonderfully. So we've got the Times here. Sunak plans university cuts to boost apprentices. Now, this is very interesting from our point of view because we are involved in. I think it's going to be a medium to long-term plan, but of two young men who have raised a substantial amount of money to open up a university of opportunity, a university of diversity. And it will offer degrees, but they will be based on an apprenticeship type operation. And at the moment, it is with the Office of Student, whatever it's called. But we hope that Lewis will be one of the centres where such a university will be cited. And the fact that Sunak has identified this as being an area to pay attention to is of great interest. According to the story, 1 in 8 existing university degree places will be scrapped under a future Conservative government, and the funding diverted into apprenticeships. In a crackdown on Mickey Mouse courses, Sunak will accuse universities of ripping young people off by offering degree places that do nothing to increase their long-term earning potential. Well, he's got this absolutely spot on. Labour and the Conservatives have agreed to hold the first general election television debate between Sunak and Sir Keir Starmer next Tuesday on ITV. Rachel Reeves, the Shadow Chancellor, said Labour would announce no further tax rises during the election campaign, as they were not needed to pay for the party's commitments. And 3 opinion polls published yesterday showed little change in the party's ratings since the campaign began, although one saw a slight tightening of Labour's lead. There we go. So, the Times and the Daily Mail both say that 1 in 8 students could see their courses cut, and that Mickey Mouse degrees would disappear. The papers explain that Tory modelling has suggested the measures could generate about 910 million. They do come up with strange figures. 910 million pounds for apprenticeships by the end of the decade, by reducing the number of student loans which are never paid back. The Express lists 5 degrees whose graduates earn the least. They include courses in combined and general studies, performing arts, and creative arts and design. Well, there we are. I think that some designers would disagree with that assessment, but still. The Telegraph leads with an interview with Rishi Sunak. He reveals he's recently spoken to Boris Johnson, but he won't say whether the 2019 election winner would campaign for him. The front page of the Daily Mirror has a decision by the police to drop their inquiry into Labour's deputy leader Angela Rayner's house sale. It describes this as a fresh blow to Mr. Sunak's campaign. Yeah, I suppose it would be, really. I was watching the post office, Mr. Bates in the post office last night, and even I, having been 60 years in journalism and seen all sorts of things that shouldn't have happen, even I was astonished at the power and the way that the post office and its acolytes managed to wield devastating blows to their postmasters. It was astonishing. It was disgusting. It was frightening. And it wouldn't surprise me one little bit if pressure hasn't been put on to stop this investigation. It may be that everything was above board, but it should have been allowed to go the full measure. This is an important lady. She's deputy leader of the Labour Party, which is likely to become government in about 6 weeks' time. The water regulator Ofwat is drawing up plans for a special recovery regime to help Thames Water and other struggling water firms, according to the Financial Times. Well, our own Stuart Dolby has pointed out that every time they get financial help, these big utility firms, is what they do is they pay their investors. They pay dividends. They don't actually put it towards saving their companies. So one wonders whether, in fact, Ofwat should drop this and let a couple of them go to the wall and do a good shake-up. There is so much wrong in our society, and nobody is prepared to grasp the horns. It's about time that we got, well, what we've been crying about, leadership. Taking on some of these injustices and not just dropping them with a police force which has very little to offer anymore. The police force itself needs straightening out. Ofwat says the water companies would receive fewer penalties to encourage them to invest in infrastructure. In other words, they can pump more sewage into the sea in the meantime. They would also be given realistic targets for reducing sewage and water leaks. According to The Guardian, Israel's Foreign Intelligence Agency is alleged to have threatened a chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court. The aim, the paper claims, was to put pressure on the prosecutor to abandon a war crimes investigation. When asked about the story, the Israeli Prime Minister's office told The Guardian that its question contained many false and unfounded allegations meant to hurt the state of Israel. Well, let's just have a look at a little into say the just arbitrarily picked the males. Oh gosh, the chief is looking after me again. Thank you, Chief. Yeah, he's a great guy. This a man of many talents, as I said earlier, but also, as they would say, a very pleasant disposition. And was toad champion of the world. Right, the Mail Online. There's a family of a watch dealer says he took his own life due to the anguish and distress of being robbed at West London store, as the firm revealed thieves posed as customers over a 3-day sting before attacking him and stealing £2 million worth of timepieces. Oliver White died at his family's home in Shepperton in Middlesex just a day after 2 unnamed thieves entered the 247 Kettles store in affluent Richmond in southwest London Saturday and stole dozens of high-valued watches. Horrifying video footage shows one of the robbers restraining Oliver with a chokehold, while his accomplice is seen sweeping up large numbers of watches and putting them into the backpack of the man assaulting the young sales manager. Today, it emerged that the two men being hunted over the robbery had posed as clients in a three-day sting before attacking Mr. White, who should never have been alone with that amount of watches on display, according to his firm. In a statement to Surrey police, Oliver's family said, "Our son Oliver returned home from his place of work on Saturday, traumatized and unable to speak. He had been the victim of a terrifying attack and high-value robbery at his place of work, which was later shared widely on social media. Sadly, it is our belief that Oliver subsequently took his own life due to the anguish and distress of this terrible incident." Well, that's an interesting story. And it highlights the fact that we no longer have a great deal of confidence in our police force. There are other incidents of this, and oh dear, there's here we go. Breaking news: Labour meltdown, as Diane Abbott says she is being blocked from standing at the election. Keir Starmer is branded disgraceful and accused of West Wing politics as row over the veteran left-winger mounts. Now, Diane Abbott is a pretty nasty piece of work. But by the same token, this station, this television station, is dedicated to making sure that we have freedom of speech, freedom of movement, and freedom of the media. And if, in fact, these stories are true, and what has to be very careful about these things with social media nowadays is if, in fact, these stories are true, it is disgraceful. And it will show exactly what Starmer is all about. He's been played squeaky clean so far. And I must say that he is, so far, not put a step wrong. Diane Abbott has been given back the Labour whip. But nobody will say whether she will be allowed to stand as a candidate in the general election. The Royal Mail has been bought for £3.57 billion by billionaire Daniel Kretinsky, as a Czech citizen. He already owns more than a quarter of International Distribution Services, which controls Royal Mail, Parcel Force, and International Mailing Services, GLS. Eden Confidential. Well, here's a gossip. Could a cannabis farm be a costly whiff of trouble at the Sussex's £14.5 million Montecito mansion? Ooh, Prince Harry and indeed his entire neighborhood may now urgently be in need of a scrubber machine, or several of them, well, I haven't got any more than that. Prince Harry and indeed his entire neighborhood may now urgently be in need of a scrubber machine or several of them. That's the verdict of those contending with a skunk-like odor, a jaw-clamping stench and an ungodly stink. It's caused by the cannabis, which is now legally grown in California, including the farm where Megan and a 50-strong crew will film much of her impending home cookery series for Netflix. Lying just 10 minutes from the Sussex's Montecito residence, the farm is one of several which have been traditional crops like grapes and avocados make way for cannabis, grown on an industrial scale. Ha ha ha! Dear, 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 they do get their knickers into a twist over things, don't they? Ha 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 ha! Hey, right, oh dear. Oh well. Do we have any more nice little backroom stories? I don't think so. Oh well, who knows? Angela Rayner's neighbors voiced their anger and disbelief after police dropped probe into Two Homes MP, sparked by the Mail on Sunday investigation. Announcing the decision, Greater Manchester Police said it had also passed information on to Stockport Council and HMRC that they too will be taking no further action against the Ashton under Lyme MP. There's another little story. Tories cut gap with Labour to 12 points. Rishi Sunak recovers from gaffe-ridden opening days to surge up polls as Keir Starmer faces new party meltdown over Diane Abbott debacle. Labour's lead has slipped from 18 points in April and 15 points in early May, according to the polling by JL Partners carried out on Friday and Saturday. Still points to a Starmer victory, though. So don't get your hopes up if you're a Tory. I think that is probably as good as we're going to get. We are going to invite the local candidates onto Mirador to be interviewed. It will be interesting to see if they are prepared to first of all come on, and if they won't, we will say so. And it'll be a bit like going into court and refusing to go into the witness box. You draw your own conclusions. We will certainly draw ours. But they haven't said no yet, so we'll ask and find out the answer first, because it is absolutely important, particularly in this election, that we hear from the main contenders. We will ask Labour and Greens as well, if indeed they plan to put up a national candidate. Labour normally does. The Greens, I don't know. Is their one MP in Brighton is standing down, so I don't know that they're going to have any national presence at all. But Reform say that they are only 20 short of putting up candidates in every constituency in the British Isles. So it is going to be an interesting election, to say the least, and interesting issues, some very key issues. And in the long run, our MP here will have a vote, whoever he may be or she may be. And that vote will be important in seeing through a variety of decisions on issues such as immigration, the economy, inflation, you name it. And so we are able to ask reasonable questions. So that's our plan. I set up a camera. Let me show you for John Henty, only to realize that because of the holiday, I've got things horribly screwed up, and that today is Wednesday and not Thursday. And what we've got today is John Prillo with artificial intelligence, which is always interesting, quite often good fun. And John manufactures little treats for us. And so in about 5 minutes' time, I am going over or I'm going to relinquish the floor, as they say, to relinquish the floor to give way to Philip Meredith, who accompanies John on his journey along the artificial intelligence route. I don't know why, but I always wanted to say artificial insemination I suppose because that's been around for a long time, and that we've been tampering with bulls and cows and things for quite some time with AI, but now it's got a new meaning. Stuart Dolby will not be along this morning, but I am going to attempt to contact his interviewee to chat myself to him because he's an interesting man. But Stuart has his family over here from California, or at least part of his family. Stuart has quite a large family, and they are all very interesting people. As with all large families, there are always family considerations that have to be taken into account. And I had coffee with Stuart yesterday and a little chat about his family, and he asked to be to beg off because he had to look after them for a day, and of course the family comes first. Is actually Mirador holds true to a lot of basic principles that we have held dear for perhaps 50 or 60 years, and we actually don't pay any attention to the wokes and the millennials and all the peculiar ideas that they've got. Basic decency, honesty, family unit. Yes, let's say it, love is important to our essential way of life. And actually, since they're on the platform, on the stage, our politicians might well remember that, because they do get their knickers into a twist. They do get their knickers into a complete and utter twist. And when they should really be settling down to restore some of the values that have made us a great nation. As Hugh Grant says in Love Actually, We're a great nation. Nation of Shakespeare. David Beckham. David Beckham's right foot. David Beckham's left foot, for that matter. I suppose actually we should also say a nation of Pep Guardiola, who's not a Brit at all, but who has guided Manchester City to 4 straight Premiership championships. And what I hadn't realised is that he's also managed 2 more. So he's got something like 7 in the last 10, which is remarkable. Okay, he lost the cup final. That's a one-off. Special things happen in the cup final. But over a period of 50 games or so, it is a remarkable achievement to do that. But anyway, we're talking about what it should be highlighted by politicians and what isn't, and either side. To be quite honest with you, we take the view a plague on both their houses, a plague on the system as it is at the moment. And the Reform Party is aptly named because one of its leaders, well, not leaders, but one of its supporters, if you like, Boris Johnson, said in a speech before the last election, which was about 4 years ago, a speech before the last election, that we need to reform root and branch from the very top to the very bottom. And by the very bottom, he means the parish councils. We need to reform our system of governance because it is not fit for purpose. Now, we may disagree with him about what is fit for purpose, but the fact of the matter is, he is right. A deep, deep look needs taking at the way we are governed. But nobody is doing that. We can't fix the problems because we don't even know what the problems are. And that's really what we should be doing in terms of how we are governed. How we are governed. Not the tinkering at the edges, which takes place at the moment. Not the bits and pieces, which often make the headlines. And actually, some of our newspapers and some of our television and radio stations, other than this one, which is squeaky clean, we have no isms in this station at all. But the way that we report government, governance, Westminster, Whitehall, leaves a lot to be desired. And once again, we're lacking leadership. Anyway, I am going to move off, and I'm going to move off and make way for Philip Meredith and John Prideaux. So I've had a nice little rant this morning. I've enjoyed myself. I'm full of the whatever of spring. I'm bouncing. So I'll say toodle pip for the moment, and see you in a little while.